Hey, welcome back. Week number two, or session number two, I guess. Talking about some of the bills that I've filed for this session. Today we're going to focus on three bills that all are combined together in my mind because they deal with the issue of medical price transparency. And I know that sounds incredibly nerdy, and it is incredibly nerdy. And we'll talk about some of that in detail. First, wanted to lead off with an announcement that was made by the Pro Tem at the very end of last week. President Pro Tem Treat named me as the new chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. I'm really excited about that. Really will increase the opportunity for me to help move our state forward when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to human services. And so that announcement is very exciting to me. I appreciate the trust that he's put in me, and I look forward to doing all I can to make a difference in both health and human services. And that rolls into this video and this issue of medical price transparency. And the reason that transparency is important before we get into the bills is right now I'm more and more convinced after I read and I read and I read, one of the biggest problems that we have in the medical system is that there is no real accountability for price. We talk about having a free market system. Well, a free market system only works if people can compete between services. And right now there's really no competition in the medical world when it comes to price. You compete on reputation in the medical world, but you don't compete on price because rarely do people know what they're paying for their services. And I think if we're going to get control over our medical system and control over the cost, if we're going to bring the cost of drugs down, if we're going to bring the cost of insurance down, we have to create a system that has more transparency on price. And so I'll go into these three bills and kind of expand on that thought process a little bit. There will be a link to all three of these bills on YouTube. So if you're watching this on social media, click through and go to YouTube. Also, this would be a good time for me to say, if you subscribe to that YouTube page, anytime I post a video, you'll be alerted that video is out there immediately. But also on that YouTube page, we will put those links in the comments section so that you can read these bills on your own and make sure you kind of can see how I'm going about the things that we're talking about in these bills. But first one, Senate Bill 1841. This one deals with price transparency when it comes to laboratory testing and medical imaging. So you're talking about x-rays, MRIs, those types of things. So right now you go to your doctor says, hey, we need to draw some blood, we need to run some lab work. And you say yes, and you let them take your blood, or maybe they send you to the hospital and the hospital takes your blood, but you don't ever think about, hey, are there multiple places that I could go to get this test done, and is the price different at different places? And so what this bill does is it will require your doctor, whoever the doctor is that's writing this order and saying, hey, we need to do these tests, it's going to require those doctors to go to a website that the state of Oklahoma is going to help create and look at the price for this test at the 15 closest laboratories or imaging centers to you, or actually to that doctor's office is the way that would be done. And so the bill talks about how we're going to get the data into that system. And then it talks about being able to go and you're going to be able to search by the doctor's address, 15 closest places, and then the doctor will give you that list of, hey, you can go to any of these 15 places and this is the price that they charge for the service that I think you need. I'll give a very personal example for this. I recently had a daughter who needed an MRI. Doctor says, hey, you guys need to go get this MRI done. Doctor immediately sends that order for the MRI to the hospital and schedules it. Hey, go get this done. I'll look at the results. We'll go on. So since I knew I was going to run this bill, I thought, okay, I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to do a little price shopping. And the general numbers are the hospital where this order was given, where I was not ordered, but where we were supposed to take my daughter, was going to charge my insurance company about $780 for that MRI. It's the first of the year, so I mean we're all paying deductibles. I mean, it's very important right now to most of us how much money you're going to be spending on your health care. So I called, and now I'm in Ada, so there's not a lot of options. So I called the three closest that I could think of, which was Norman. Found three other places in Norman. I called them. Each of those three, it varied a little bit, but basically the price that they quoted me was around $315 to $345. So obviously $780 versus $315, that's a huge deal. And so what I'm trying to do with this bill is I'm trying to make it easier for us to see that and for us to make decisions based on price. Now, to tell you, I ended up still going to the hospital, because a trip to Norman, taking my daughter out of school, all of those things are difficult. B, I like to use local providers anytime I can possibly use local providers. And then C, just the hospital was able to get her in 2 days later. The other places were not. So there are a lot of things that go into these decisions, but we've never made these decisions on price. And I believe until we do, we're always going to have a struggle with price just going up and up and up, because if we don't care about price, why in the world would they try to keep prices low? So that's Senate Bill 1841, deals with imaging and laboratory work, and it deals with your doctor helping you with that price transparency point. The second bill that I want to talk about today, Senate Bill 1897, and this deals with hospital price transparency. And just to be very upfront, this bill and the one that I've already talked about in this video, they're very complex. They are very hard to get it right, and it's something that I desperately want to make sure we get right. And so I don't know that either of these bills will become law this year. We're going to work on it. We're going to try to perfect it. But I think this may be one of those things that we work on during this session. We decide that we just didn't have it right. We didn't have the details all figured out. And we'll take it into this summer, and we'll do some public hearings on it. We'll do what's called an interim study on these two bills to make sure we get this thing right. But I don't know. I hadn't given up yet, but I just want to say that's part of the process. This is a big deal. There are very few states that have really done this, and very, very few that have done this right or done this well. So we'll see. But Senate Bill 1897 is hospital price transparency, and what it's doing, it's really a first step bill on hospital price transparency. And the hospital pricing is so complex because the way that they bill insurance companies is different than the way they bill Medicare. The way they bill Medicare is different than the way they would bill you if you were paying private pay. It's a very, very complex thing. And so what we're starting with in this iteration of this idea is that hospitals have a master list of what they charge. It's called the Hospital Master List. And so this bill calls for every hospital to publish their master charge list. so that at least it is out there what it is that they claim to charge. Now, the problem with this is that very few hospitals charge on a regular basis the price on that master list, because it does depend on contracts with insurance companies and contracts with the federal government, contracts with the state on Medicaid. But this is step one in kind of creating that price transparency for hospitals. It is really, really complex, and all of these things are so interconnected that states that have done this in the past have found that it really didn't help that much, because everyone figured out that the price on those master charge lists really didn't, in the real world, didn't mean a lot. And so again, this is an idea that we're going to have to keep working on. But to me, if we don't start talking about these things, we're never going to fix them. So yes, it is complicated. No, I do not have all the answers. Yes, I'm going to need help from a lot of people to figure that out. But I don't want to give up on it, and I don't want to stop pushing on this idea, because if we're going to bring healthcare costs down, if we're going to bring our insurance premiums down, if we're going to save the state money through Medicaid, if we're going to save the federal government money through Medicare, by bringing the cost down, because we pay so much more in the United States than anybody else in the world for our healthcare services. And so we complain about insurance premiums. Well, the problem with it is we're paying more for these tests, we're paying more for these procedures than anywhere else in the world. And until we deal with that, the cost of healthcare is always going to be a problem, and I'm dedicated to trying to fight to stop the growth in the cost of healthcare. So that's those two bills. The last bill, and this is the one that has real meat on the bones, and it's the first real effort to do something, and I think it's an exciting experiment. It's Senate Bill 1824, and it's lovingly titled Right to Shop. And the right to shop idea is not new, but the right to shop idea has not been implemented very well, and it hadn't been implemented in very many states. And so I want Oklahoma to lead the nation in this. And this is really one of the things I'm most excited about for this session, is this Senate Bill 1824. And what it is it requires, it's only for state employees, because we're going to make the employees of the state, and I'm one of them. So everyone who is on state-sponsored health insurance, we're going to require state-sponsored health insurance plans to be transparent about what they pay for medical services. And this goes back to my example about the MRI. My daughter's MRI had $780 and you had $315. This bill will require those state-funded insurance plans to publish those prices onto a website, so that as a state employee, I can go in, it knows what plan I'm on, and so it knows, okay, well, I pay Dr. A this much, I pay Dr. B this much, and I get to know, hey, if I choose to go here instead of here, it's going to save the insurance plan money. Now, the problem is that none of us really care that much about saving the insurance plan money. What we care about is saving ourselves money. And so what we've put into this is that not only is there going to be a website where state employees can look and shop by price for medical services, but in this bill, those insurance plans, if you save them money, if you choose a provider that is below the average cost that they pay, if you choose one of them, the insurance company has to split the money that you save with you. So quite literally, in my example, And again, it's based on average price. So we had one MRI that was $780. We had 3 MRIs that were $315. So let's say that the average MRI price in Oklahoma for the type of MRI my daughter needed was going to be, let's say it was $500, just to make this easy. Okay, so I chose, if I chose the $315 MRI, then that would have been $185 if I did my math right in my head. $185 that I just saved the insurance company below the average cost that they spend. So the insurance company would have to send me a check for half of that. So I get half of the money that I just saved the insurance company. They can also deduct that from co-pays and things like that if they want. But in the end, if I save the insurance company money, I get part of the money that I just saved them. And so that incentivizes all of the employees of the state of Oklahoma, and there's way too many of them. So there's a bunch of people here that we're talking about. It will incentivize all of us to make good financial decisions that will help us and will help the state of Oklahoma save money. And the theory, the grand theory on Right to Shop is that once you do that, providers will start charging less because they'll start to see that they have less customers because they're charging too much. It's the free market. It happens every day in everything else in the free market. But in healthcare, it doesn't happen because nobody knows the price. So we want people to know the price. They'll make decisions based on price. You go to the grocery store based on price. You buy your clothes based on price. You decide where you're going to shop based on price. And we're going to start doing that in healthcare in Oklahoma. And we're going to start with the state employees. And I hope once we prove that it works with the state employees, that we can expand that to everybody. But right now, step one in this process, step one in this grand experiment is for the state of Oklahoma employees to prove that they will shop by price, that we can get the prices out there, that they'll shop by price. And then step 3 is that providers will lower their price because they have to be closer to that average. They have to, they know if they're below average, they get more patients, they get more customers. So I'm really excited about this idea. It is incredibly complex. I'm sure that the insurance companies won't like it. And in the end, that's just something that we're going to have to fight through, is we have to have price transparency in the state of Oklahoma and in the United States. We have to be able to shop for our health care. And so it'll cause major ripples through the system, and we're going to have to deal with those ripples. And I understand that, and I understand that this makes a lot of people really nervous. But I don't think that the people of Senate District 13 elected me to go up and keep the status quo. I think I have the ability to start lowering the price curve on healthcare, and I'm going to fight to do that. I hope you'll support me in that fight. I hope you'll look at these bills. I hope that you'll ask questions. So whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you may be watching this, on Twitter, number one, share this, because we need everyone to understand what this fight is and understand how big of a deal this could be. But give me your comments. Ask me your questions. I want to be able to explain this, and I want to be able to explain it well, because it really is complex. So if there are things that I didn't mention, if there are things that you're thinking, well, yeah, that makes sense, but what about this? Give me your whatabouts and let me try to answer those questions for you. But share it, like it, subscribe, join me in this fight, because one of the biggest things that we can do in the state of Oklahoma is lead the nation in lowering the amount of money that we spend on health care. If we lower that amount of money, hopefully that means that we can have better care, more care for people, People won't be scared to go to the doctor anymore. We've got to do this. We've got to fight through this. And I hope that you'll join me. So with that, that's the end of this video. We'll come back with more videos as session starts. We're going to have the State of the State address. I would like to put out a video hopefully soon that talks about exactly how a bill makes it through the process, because I know people don't quite understand how all of that works, and in all honesty, I didn't understand all of it before I was elected. So we're going to come back. We're going to keep giving you content, keep giving you information, but I really wanted to talk about this price transparency thing today. Let me know what you think, and again, thank you so much for allowing me to be your senator. I hope I'm working on the things that you want me to work on, doing the things that you want me to do, because that's my job. And so let me know. Like, comment, and all of those things. Thank you very much. God bless you. And we're about to get session ready and raring to go. Thank you very much.